If you're new to Drata, you may see the asset field where I'll have a selection of pre-added assets for you. But you may already have an existing asset register that you have stored as a spreadsheet, for example. Now within the Drata web UI, we can add an asset, but we've got to add those assets one by one. Today in this video, we're going to look at how we can utilize the Drata API to add a new asset, and when we're going to use the automation workflow tool make.com to pull in our asset register from a spreadsheet. Now my example spreadsheet is this Google sheet here. We only have 5 assets in, but this will make a good start. So within make.com, we are going to create a new scenario. And then in my case, we're going to select Google Sheets. Then we're going to find the function we want, which is we're going to get a range of values. We're going to create a connection. So I'm just going to sign in to Google and then authorize make.com to see and edit the spreadsheets that I need. So we're going to allow that. Now we need to select our spreadsheet. So I'm going to select it from a list and we're just going to wait for make to pull in my files. And we're going to select our asset register. Fantastic. Now I need to select the sheet name. We only have one sheet, which is sheet 1. Perfect. Now we need to select our range. Now, in this case, the range is from A through to F. And then we've got headings on row 1. So we want to select from row 2 onwards. Now I'm actually going to select from up to 25 as an example, but in reality, we only need to go down to 6 for this tutorial. So back in make, we want to select A2 because we want to start on the second row and we want to go all the way over to F and then we're going to go down to 25. Now my table does contain headers. As you saw, this is A1 through to F1. So we're going to enter A1 to F1. And that's it. Great, done. If we right click this module and run this module only, we should see that we have our output bundle. We've got 5 bundles, the name, description, notes, etc. So we're pulling in that data. Now we need to post this against the Drata API. So to begin with, we're just going to copy the post endpoint URL from this request sample on the developer docs. In make, we are now going to add a new module, which is going to be a HTTP module, and we're going to make an API key auth request. Now, I already have a credential set up. There's a previous document and video on that if you need help. So we're going to select that credential value, and now we're going to put in our URL. In my demo, I'm just on the European instance, so I'm just going to add in my extra piece. And then this is going to be a post request. Now, we don't need to add any additional headers. The only header we require, if we look at the developer docs, is the authentication one, which is done for us, but we do need to set the content type. So the body type is going to be raw, and then the content type is going to be application JSON. Now we need to set the data. Let me just move this over. So the data we need to send, we can see here. I'm just going to select the example from Drata's developer docs, and we're going to use that as a base. Now we don't need all of this. You can see here in the documentation that name, description, asset class type, asset type, and owner ID are all required. Everything else is optional. If we look at my spreadsheet, we can see I've got name, description, class, asset type, and owner ID. These are all the required fields. And I also have optionally the notes. So we come back into make. We are going to put the request in. I'm going to copy this in. And now we simply just need to update this. So name, this is going to be our name value from our spreadsheet. The description, again, this is going to be our description value from the spreadsheet. The note, we're going to map this to our notes. The asset class type, this actually isn't an array, so I'm going to delete the array and we're going to update that to class there. And then the asset type, again, we're going to select that, and the owner ID, we're going to select that. Everything else is optional, which we don't have, so I'm going to delete that, and we're going to click OK. Now, before we submit this, just so I show you it's not all smoke and mirrors, here we've got our class, and we're going to be submitting for as hardware. Now we can see here I've got a couple of iPhones, a MacBook Pro, and a Dell XPS. I come back into my Drata instance and we filter by hardware. We can see I only have 2 hardware assets already, which were created 4 and 8 months ago. So now let's run this and see what happens. So we pull in our data from Google Sheets, we make 5 requests, and if we check, perfect. So we're getting unexpected string in JSON. So that's probably just the formatting that we've sent. If we look here, there's some extra there. That might not help. And then maybe let's parse this response. No, we don't need to parse the response. So we've got an extra quote in there. So let's remove that as well. Everything else I think might be okay. The only other thing maybe we need quotes around the owner ID. Let's try that again. Let's run that. Get the 5 responses. And then we get a status code of 500. What is 500? Internal server error has occurred. Interesting. What has caused that? So that could be that one of the values has sent a bit funny. So let's just try adding here quotes around the owner ID, and we're going to send that again. No. Okay, so I think where we've gone wrong is I incorrectly, if we look at the docs, change the asset type from an array, which it should be. So let's get that again. So that's the asset class type. Put that back in here. Tidy this up a little bit. So now this should be the class. And then in my example, we only have the one class. However, I think what we need to do as well is the asset type and the class need to be in uppercase. So we can use the function upper, and then we can use, we don't want to, upper. Capitalize will capitalize the first letter. Upper will make the string uppercase. And again, we want to use that here. Perfect. So now if we run that again, and we've got 5 responses, we can see here we get a 201. That looks successful. So now if we go back to hardware, we can see we've got the extra fields added. Fantastic. Hope you found this useful to add in your assets from a spreadsheet using Make.com.